So once you've mastered your own neurographic art drawings, I think it's only natural to start to want to bring in some new elements to your pictures. This one is very simple, very basic, and it's just quite cheerful, and it's a good way to start. So to start with, I'm just going to draw a border around my page in pencil, just so that we have a clear edge to draw up to. And so we're going to draw just a few lines across the page using a marker pen. The first one, I'm starting about an inch from the top, and I'm just going to wiggle it along to the other side. And about an inch below that, we're going to draw another, but bring it down just a little bit further as you go. The third will start just below the centre edge, and we'll wiggle that one up to the top of the page. And about an inch below that, we're going to draw another. Now, using a roll of tape, we just need to draw a few circles onto the page. Drawing around the inside of a roll of tape works really well. So placing it on the lower left-hand side, I want to make sure to place it so that we've got a few lines going through it. And when I'm drawing a circle, I like to start on an existing line. This is because sometimes we can end up with a little start-stop join, and they're much easier to cover up when they're on the intersections. The next circle we'll place in the middle at the top, and again we want to make sure that we have a few lines running through it. And the third circle we're going to place on the lower right, and again making sure that there's some lines running through it. Now, your picture might look slightly different from mine, but if you follow the concepts you should be fine. So I'm going to use my circle stencil for the next part, but if you don't have one, you can use a smaller roll of tape, like a washi tape, to draw around the inside of. So I'm adding a smaller circle on the outside edge of the large circle at the top. I've switched to using a black gel pen here, so the lines will be just that little bit thinner, and another on the lower edge of the circle on the left, and on the lower edge of the circle on the right. These circles don't have any additional lines running through them, we're just placing them on the large circles where there is an empty space on the page. Now I'm going to do some more circles on the page, and I'm just going to space them out to fill in the gaps. I only want to place these circles so that there's one line running through the centre. So do scan around the page, looking for areas where the circles will fit without looking too cramped. I think that's plenty. So on the top line, using a gel pen, I'm going to draw in a bit of a squiggly line. I'm going to go down, back up to the line, over the line and down, making sure that the line ends on the intersection of the circle. Skip the small circle and start back on the line, and repeat the process. Try to ensure that your line ends on the next intersection. You can make these lines as deep or shallow as you like, you can make them long, you can make them short, but every time you reach an intersection, make sure it ends on that point. Continue this pattern through the larger circle and work your way to the edge of the page. If you come across a small circle, skip it. We only want these wiggly lines through the big circles and the empty spaces. And we want to do the same on the lower line that finishes on the right hand side of the page. Exactly the same process. Skip all the small circles. Continue through the large circle. Skip the small circle and finish on the edge of the page. The next thing we need to do is just round off all of those edges in a neurographic style. So we want to do this for all of the sharp edges and on those really small intersections as well. For these smaller sections, I like to use a fine tipped pen. This one is a 0.1mm unipin and is absolutely perfect for tiny little intersections. It's absolutely no good for inking in large areas, but for these smaller sections, it just makes it a breeze to just curve them off with this finer nibbed pen. My gel pen is a 0.7mm and it's permanent ink. Not all gel pens are permanent ink, and you really do need to have a permanent ink if you're going to use a water-based art medium for the colour. Otherwise your black ink will start blurring around the edges. So work your way around the page, smoothing off all of those corners. Change your pen as you need to, and take your time. Smoothing off all of these sharp edges is one of the most relaxing parts of this style of drawing. It really allows you to switch off your mind, just focus on the lines. Just focus on the soft sound of the pen scratching on the page, and allow your thoughts to drift away. Try not to feel overwhelmed by the amount of edges that you need to curve off. There's no time limit on this. You can do a little today, a little tomorrow. Take as long as you need. There's just no rush. This isn't about reaching the finishing line. It's about being present at the moment your pen touches the paper and draws the line. So once all of the edges have been smoothed off, we can start to add a little bit more decoration. On the top centre circle, we have a nice clear gap, and this is going to be the starting point for our decoration. Starting at the intersection, wiggle a line out about 3 or 4 centimetres. Work with the space that you've got, wiggle it up in a slight curve, and then back down again. Do the same on each side. Now it doesn't matter if one is longer than the other or if it curves in a slightly different way. A little bit of variation is always good in these types of drawings. So in between two of the blades of grass, we're going to draw a small, shorter curved line and add a small circle on the top, and again on the other side. I've got a little bit of extra room here, so I'm going to add a third one as well. Now look around your picture, because yours is going to be slightly different from mine, and we want to hunt out a section where we can add some of these grassy patches and repeat the same process. 3 blades of grass, and this time I can only fit 2 lines with circles on the ends, but that's okay. Work with the space that you have. If you can't fit it all in, just put in what you can. So I now want to balance out the right hand side of this picture with some of those grassy areas, and there's not really an awful lot of room to work with, but I can identify 2 spaces which may work. So we're going to just go with it. Don't overthink it. If you're not drawn to work in an area, leave it. If you feel yourself drawn to work in it, try it out. I think that'll do nicely. That's quite a fair balance. Right, now I'm going to go back to my circle stencil, and I'm going to use a much smaller circle now. Again, if you don't have a circle stencil, you could just use a small round coin. Now I'm adding these circles to intersections where there's no pattern, just on the outside of the large circles only. So follow the large circles around with your eye, and just add in those circles where there's no decoration. I've got no room here to add a circle, so I'm just leaving that one blank and moving around to where I can fit one in. So we don't want to add small circles to all of the intersections, we're just working with the large circles. And I'm just going to use my Unipin just to take those little edges off those circles. So now we're ready to add some colour, and you can use whatever art medium you prefer, and don't feel that you have to use the same colours or paint them in the same way. On the medium circles that are attached to the large circles, we want to paint the inner portion of the circle. So here I'm using a turquoise gouache Winsor & Newton, and I'm using a very fine brush to paint it in. On the medium circles that are not attached to a big circle, you can pick whichever side you'd like to paint. There's no real rules here. Paint slowly and paint steadily. Sometimes I'll paint and repaint very slowly until the brush is positioned in just the right place, just gently teasing the paint right up to the lines. You are better off going very slightly over your black lines and leaving a thin white streak behind on the paper, because we can go over any slightly overpainted areas with our fine liners afterwards. I would normally work left to right across the page and then work my way down, as this means that I'm not working over myself all the time. I do enjoy working with this paint because it gives a really bold, non-streaky colour. And it is slightly self-levelling as well, so when it's dry you get a really solid effect that you don't always get with acrylic paint. So continue to work your way around the page, filling in all of those medium circles. Take your time and be really sure of your brush strokes. So now I'm switching to using a very fine detail brush now. And I'm just going to paint in those blades of grass. Now this bit is a bit fiddly, and if you don't have a detail brush or a steady hand, then do consider using a different art medium, such as a coloured gel pen or a fine marker pen. And again, if you do paint over the black lines, and I have, it really is a simple case of just going over them with your fine liner once it's dry. So working our way around the page, repeat this process on all of those grassy areas. So now that's all dry, I'm just going to use a turquoise blue gel pen. This one's a Zebra Glitter Doodlers, and I'm just filling in all those teeny circles with a glittery dot. It's just a little finishing touch which makes a really big difference. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. Do hit that like button or leave a comment below if you have. I post 2 videos a week. One is a drawing video and the other is usually art or craft themed. So if you do enjoy a little bit of creative inspiration, it'd be really lovely to catch up with you next time.